It's common in air quotes, infused with the scent of potpourri. Films we commit to memory. Crossing the felt ropes, watching from home on my TV, looking at all my eyes can see. They tell me I view obsessively.
Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer, a weekly podcast reviewing 2 new or recent release titles every episode with an occasional free-for-all segment at the end that we call Potpourri. I'm your host, Matt Hurt, and you can find more of my work, and including my written reviews, full episode show notes, and the complete backlog of our episodes and spin-off podcasts at obsessiveviewer.com. You can also follow me on Letterboxd and other social media platforms at the username of Obsessive Viewer. And if you'd like to support us and get access to hundreds of exclusive episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. A lot of stuff is going on Patreon. I finished my long walk along project that I listened to the audiobook for the long walk while walking trails around Indianapolis and recording my thoughts on each section. Completed like 27 miles total between listening and recording. So check that out. And I have also been doing episode reviews of it. Welcome to Derry. $2 Patreon patrons get access to the audio reviews of that. And the other Patreon levels get access to video and audio so they can see my dumb face. And finally, it is started, my Batman project on Patreon. It's the Gotham project. I have pulled the trigger on it. I am talking about all things Batman on Patreon. It's going to be hopefully every Saturday. I don't want to commit to that, but I do have like 8 episodes already uploaded and scheduled and everything. So it's going to go at least through February. So, Gotham Project. I also have a special tier specifically for Batman stuff, in case you just want to get that stuff. But I recommend getting all of it because I do a lot of stuff on there. This week on the Gotham Project, I did a review of the Golden Age Comics collection, Volume 1, and this Saturday, let me see what I have coming up on this Saturday. This Saturday, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Batman Year 1. Yes, Batman Year 1, the comic. And I'll be talking about a digital comic for Nothing But Nightwing on the DC Universe Infinite app. So that's going to be this Saturday on the Gotham Project on Patreon. So anyway, once again, you can sign up for all of that and a bunch more content over at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And if you don't want to mess with that, or you just want to donate some money to me without messing with all of that, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/obsessiveviewer and make a payment there. So this week on the show, we are kicking off 2026 with something a little different from what we have usually been doing in the past. This is not a movie review. This is a TV review. We're going to be sharing our thoughts on the Welcome to Derry television series on HBO and HBO Max that just concluded recently, like a month ago, its first season. So we're just going to be talking about that. And joining me for that review in this episode is my friend and IFJ colleague, Mr. Mitch Ringenberg, whose work...
Thank you for being so formal with my introduction.
Oh, of course, of course.
It's great to be back.
Yes, it's great to have you. And of course, you can follow Mitch's work at MidwestFilmJournal.com and on Letterboxd at Wounded_Kite. Mitch, how have you been, man? It's been a while since you've been on the show. How's it going?
Pretty good. Nothing too crazy. I had a nice couple weeks off for the holidays, so that was nice. Been doing a lot of movie watching, a lot of reading, a lot of hanging with the family. Unfortunately, had to return to work this week, but gotta come to an end. Unfortunately, I think there was a day like I watched like 5 movies in one day. I don't think I've done that.
That's so awesome. So we're recording this on January 8th. It's going to go up tomorrow, hopefully, if I can get my shit together. But how have you been able to watch a lot of movies in the first week of January? Because spoiler alert, I have watched one movie, but I have finished it. Welcome to Derry. So there's that.
So yeah, I was dog sitting for my in-laws
That's
while
right.
while my wife and my in-laws were out of town, and I watched a lot of stuff for
Nice.
like over the course of like 2-3 days, because I've also started a new role at the company I work for.
Nice.
And my manager is out of office, so I've basically had like 2 hours worth of training to do over the course of a week. So as you imagine, like, I have some free time, and I don't always have that kind of free time at work. So you gotta relish it.
Right.
Yeah, I watched a lot of just like shitty action movies. I watched On Deadly Ground, the one movie Steven Seagal has ever directed.
Wow.
He faces off against an evil oil baron played by Michael Caine. And I also, for Midwest Film Journal does these pieces for the Society of Professional Journalists, like the Quill magazine, where they're ranking every journalism movie ever made. And there are a lot of movies about journalism. In fact,
yes,
they don't even really need to be about journalism to make this list. They just kind of had to involve a journalist, if that makes sense. And I think I watched the worst biopic I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was called Wired, and it is a biopic of James Belushi. Or sorry, no, John Belushi. John Belushi is the one that's now, right?
Yes.
This is a biopic of John Belushi, where he is played by Michael Chiklis.
Okay.
This came out in 1989. And I know I've already thrown this podcast completely off the rails.
No, totally fine.
Let me just give you a very brief summary of what this movie is. It's based on a biography by Bob Woodward, of like the Watergate scandal, and so he wrote a John Belushi biography called Wired in the 80s, like a little bit after he died. And they made this movie based on it. And the movie is insane. It's not a straightforward adaptation of this book. What it is half of the movie, it's basically two alternating plots. One half is Bob Woodward, a guy playing Bob Woodward, having interviews with John Belushi's late wife, and the late wife saying, everyone said he was a drug addict, but actually, he never did heroin and blah, blah, blah. The other half is John Belushi's ghost in the afterlife in a taxi cab played by a taxi driver named Angel, and he's recounting everything about his life.
No.
And it's also trying to be really funny. Like Michael Chiklis is trying to be really funny.
Oh, geez.
And personally, I don't think John Belushi's. I think a lot of the SNL 70s humor hasn't aged super well, just in terms of not in terms of political correctness or anything. Just I don't think it's that funny. And this movie just has painfully long recreations of every single John Belushi bit you could imagine.
Oh no.
Michael Chiklis plays him as this wide-eyed innocent soul who's too pure for this world. They're lionizing him in this really gross kind of way,
Yeah.
The movie is terrible, and if this gives you kind of a glimpse of the weird tone of the movie, there's a scene where they're trying to and this can't be true. They're trying to put his casket on a plane. They're flying it over after he dies. Okay. But he's too fat. The casket's too big to get on the plane. So they have to sit his corpse upright in the on the plane. And it's played as a wah wah.
No.
Yes. And literally Michael Chiklis, you meet his John Belushi, he zips himself out of a body bag and is fart,
oh my God.
It is I think on Letterboxd it said if there was a Louvre for bad biopics, this would be the Mona Lisa,
That's wild.
It is I don't know if it's worth watching the whole thing, but it's definitely worth watching YouTube clips, because it is really extraordinarily bad. You've never really seen anything like it.
It sounds not like something I will want to seek out, but yeah, I don't know.
I just needed to tell somebody about it. I was like, this movie is psychotic.
That is so wild. I don't know. But since you mentioned Michael Chiklis, I do want to touch base with you and see if you have watched any of The Shield yet, because I know that you said that you were interested in it.
No, but I am going to watch it. Nice. So I'm actually getting through The Wire for the very first time.
My God. Okay. Okay.
Season 1 in the bag. Done.
Nice.
Loved it.
Nice.
I'm on episode 1 of season 2.
Okay.
And in a couple weeks, I have a 13-hour flight to Taiwan, and
nice.
I am going to be. You better believe I'm going to have some episodes downloaded to my iPad.
Very nice. Oh my God! Yeah. I just like within the last couple of weeks finished rewatching The Wire. It's so good. It's so freaking good. What did you think of season 1?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Like the characters were incredible. I think that I had tried to watch similar to like reading a difficult book. Like I remember like trying to read Infinite Jest, and it took me like 3 times, and then like the 3rd time I tried to read it, I like loved it. Like it clicked with me.
Oh, nice.
I felt like same thing with The Wire, whereas like the first couple times I tried to watch it, I was just like, this is so dense. Like all of like the lingo they're using and everything is just. They just throw you right into that world that's clearly like very heavily researched. And I think when I tried to watch it in the past, I think the first time I tried to watch it was like in high school and just like couldn't get into it. Then I tried to watch it maybe like 10 years ago, couldn't really get into it. And then this time, basically like after the first episode, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like,
nice.
I'm in the groove of the show. It's amazing. Great characters, really fascinating. And I mean, just the way it is like this sprawling look at this incredibly broken system, and also how the kind of the ripple effects of, you know, like the drug trade and like how violence kind of has this chain reaction throughout. It feels very realistic while still feeling like kind of like very cinematic and like great storytelling. I will say like the character of Omar, I've only seen the first season, is an amazing character.
So
he's almost out of a different show.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like, everything is so grounded in the show. And Omar is like, you know what I mean? Like Omar is like almost like the Equalizer walks into the show. But because he's so well played and he's so cool, I'm like, oh, like if this actor wasn't so good playing this and he wasn't so believable, he would almost like break the reality of the show.
Oh, totally.
But he's just good enough, because I was like, nothing else in the show is ridiculous, and like he is sort of a ridiculous character.
Oh yeah,
he's awesome. I love Omar. I'm very much Team Omar.
Nice. My God, that performance, that character is like just. I mean, he's iconic. He's iconic. I was thinking. Good. Yeah, I was thinking about this when watching it, and it's sad. This is dark and everything, but like. It's sad to think about all of the actors that are in The Wire who have gone on to die now. Like they're no longer here. Like it keeps happening. Isaiah Whitlock Jr. just passed away. And of course James Ransone. But I don't know why I brought up that downer of a
all too young, because like it's not like a show that's 45 years old, you know.
Right. It's
like we were almost, you know, I was like probably in like middle school when it aired, you know, like not, that's a long time ago now, but it still isn't that old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. And I can absolutely see it becoming like Sopranos tier for me, which up until now, I would say Sopranos is like my favorite HBO show of all time.
Nice.
Second only to Welcome to Derry, of course.
Oh, of course. That is a good segue, because we could talk The Wire for hours, even just season 1. Jesus Christ. The final thing I'll say about it is, I said this I think before at some point, but I've been like weirdly like knee deep in Baltimore crime stuff recently. So like I rewatched The Wire. I listened to the audiobook for We Own the City. I'm currently reading on Kindle because there's only an abridged audiobook of it, but Homicide: A Year on the Killing Street by David Simon, who created The Wire.
Nice.
A lot of Homicide: A Year on the Killing Street comes from like his experience, because what he did was in the 80s, he was basically shadowing the homicide unit of Baltimore for a full year. And he wrote about it for the Baltimore Sun, I believe, and eventually wrote a book about it and everything. And then that book eventually got, optioned or whatever to be adapted into Homicide: Life on the Street, which ran on, I think, NBC for 7 years, which I also started watching a little bit of that on Peacock. And then I just recently finished the adaptation, or the miniseries for We Own the City, which was adapted from the book that I mentioned, but it's also made by David Simon and George Pelicanos, and a whole bunch of people from The Wire. It's like, it's wild because like it's weird because like it's not connected to, because it's a true story. But like a lot of the actors from The Wire are in We Own the City, so it's kind of funny to see like the actor who played Poot in The Wire, he's like a detective in that show, and I'm like, well, what's going on?
I did watch We Own the City.
Oh, nice. What did you think of it?
It's great. It's not as good as The Wire, but it's really good.
No.
I will say John Bernthal in that show is incredible.
Oh my God, yes. I was so...
Incredible.
It was funny because, as obnoxious as this is to say and everything, since I've been like so deep entrenched in all of the like Wire universe and David Simon stuff and Baltimore stuff, I'm like, that first monologue with John Bernthal in We Own the City, I'm like, oh, he's got that Baltimore accent down. Like he's like, it's perfect. And I'm like, wait, I've never been to Baltimore in my life. Like I can pick out this accent now because it's very distinctive, but yeah.
He's such a magnetic actor, but I do have to tell you one thing that's, I think it's going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Late 2024, I went to one of my very closest friends, Russell. I went to his wedding in New Orleans. Him and his now wife live in New Orleans. And we were flying whatever shitty airline it is, Spirit Airlines, Frontier.
Okay.
Whatever the one, it's like the discount airline that you don't choose your seats. So it's like first come, first serve seats. It's Frontier. It's Frontier.
Okay.
So it's like first come, first serve. So if you're flying with like your wife, like I was, or whoever your traveling partner is, you might not sit together, right? Like especially if you're like called like Group D, and there's maybe like 3 seats left and they're all disparate, right? Well, my wife Devin, who you've met her probably, a
couple of times, I think.
Yeah, so Devin is one of those people who will absolutely talk to whoever she's sitting next to on a plane, like any stranger. I'm not that person at all. Like I'm like headphones on. I'm reading a book. I'm watching something on my iPad, whatever. And she'll always, when we get off the plane, she'll tell me all about the person she met. She'll be like, yeah, wow, they're they used to live in Australia, like whatever. She'll have all these. She'll give me like a mini biography of them, right?
Sure.
She's real. She's like 4 rows ahead of me, and I see she's talking to this like older woman, probably like in her 60s, and I can just see like the tops of their head like bobbing, like they're just talking to each other like nonstop. And like they're like laughing, they're like having a good time. I'm like, dang, she's really getting along with this person.
Nice.
When we get up, when we're seated, she's like, oh yeah, hey, this is my husband, Mitch, that I told you about. I'm like, hi. I'm like, why are you introducing me to this person? I'm like, I don't know this person. But she's just being friendly.
Yeah.
We get off and we're walking, and Devin's like, yeah, this lady's really nice. She's actually an author. And I was like, oh, really? That's kind of cool. And I'm like, what has she written? She's like, yeah, they made a Netflix show or an Apple TV show off of one of her books. It has Natalie Portman in it. It's called Lady in the Lake. And I was like, no. And I look it up. I'm like, that's a real show. Of course, you know how streaming shows are. There's like a massive A-lister star in some crime show you've never heard of once. It came out like 3 years ago.
Right.
She goes, yeah, her ex-husband, her husband got a divorce, unfortunately, but she said they're really good with custody. And she's like, her ex-husband actually created a TV show. Have you ever heard of The Wire before?
What the fuck?
And I was like, yeah, I've heard of The Wire. So I was like, not only have I heard of The Wire, I know who that is. That's David Simon.
Yeah.
Her ex-husband is David Simon.
That is wild.
Is that not insane?
My God.
Of course, Devin had like, he's like, she likes movies well enough and stuff, and she's like a reader, but like, she's not like a nerd like us. She doesn't know what The Wire is,
right?
You know? That was well before her time. She wasn't keyed in. I mean, she's my age exactly, but like, yeah, she wasn't a nerd being like, oh, Rolling Stone magazine gave The Wire season 3 5 stars. You know
that is insane. That's just good.
Isn't
God,
that absolutely nuts.
Oh, absolutely. I'm blown away. I was going to say.
I was too. Yeah. As soon as we started talking about this, I was like, I gotta tell Matt this story.
Oh my God. I was gonna say, like, when you said that you went to New Orleans for your friend Russell's wedding, like a part of me was like, oh, like your friend's name is Russell Bell. You call him Stringer. Right,
just like some stupid story that means nothing. I'm like, no, my wife like became friends on this flight with.
That's awesome.
Like, it already would have been crazy if she was just just you know, a highly like regarded author in her own right. Yeah, like, that's already crazy.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that she was married to David Simon and has kids with him,
wild. Good God! Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm
glad you enjoyed that. Yeah. It kind of blew my mind for the rest of the night.
Absolutely.
I was like reeling from it for the rest of the night. And Devin was like, I mean, that's kind of crazy, but I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, that's like one of the most acclaimed TV shows of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Like
that. That's like being like, oh, my husband is like Matt Groening or something like that.
Right.
You know? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is like a huge.
That's so wild. Yeah. I don't like. I'm kind of speechless. All I keep thinking is, man, I need to fly more. I need to take more flights.
It does tell you, I'm like, damn, dude. Maybe I like meet some interesting people if I ever open myself up.
Well, that's the thing. I'm the exact same way. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take a like 3-hour flight somewhere. Like, oh, that's 3 episodes of a show. That's 2. Like that's maybe I can squeeze in 2 movies and not bother the person next to me.
100%. I'm like, sorry, I need to watch Steven Seagal's directorial effort on Deadly Ground.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Well, speaking of HBO, well, actually, I do need to just say this up front. I don't have any notes or anything for what's playing this week in Indy, but I do want to recommend going to check out Alamo Drafthouse. Actually, I will say Alamo Drafthouse is showing Darkman this weekend, I believe, tomorrow. I'll be there 7 something.
As will I.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So that's going on. And also the first and third Sunday of each month, the Alamo Drafthouse does movie trivia on Sundays. So check that out. That'll be next Sunday. Not this coming Sunday, but but also check out the listings at Can, Living Room Theaters, Keystone Art, Flix Brew House, all the theaters in the area that you want to patronize. So yeah, but speaking of the home box office, do you want to talk about Welcome to Derry, season 1?
Absolutely. I'm dying to.
Nice. Okay, we are going to go ahead and go into our review of It Welcome to Derry Season 1, which concluded its run, or it aired from October 26, 2025 to December 14th, 2025 on HBO and HBO Max. Of course, we're going to do a non-spoiler review followed by a spoiler review. I will put timestamps in the show notes to navigate around that if you want to avoid that and everything. But otherwise, I will play a clip from the trailer to transition us over to spoilers when the time comes. And I'm going to go ahead and just say it. I am posting this on Tower Junkies as well. So, hi, Tower Junkies. I'm going to have a whole preamble and everything that you guys have already heard. But yeah, so this is cross-posted. So the rare Obsessive Viewer cross-post, whatever. So Mitch, welcome to Obsessive Viewer and Tower Junkies.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
occupying two spaces at once.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Two different levels of the tower. But anyway, It Welcome to Derry was airing on HBO Max. It ran for 8 episodes. It has been renewed for season 2. The plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, is in 1962, a couple with their son move to Derry, Maine, just as a young boy disappears. With their arrival, very bad things begin to happen in the town. So this series stars Giovanna Depo, or maybe Giovanna Depo, I'm not sure, Bill Skarsgård, Taylor Page, Stephen Ryder, Matilda Lawler, Amanda Christine, Clara Stack, and Blake Cameron James, and also Arian S. Cartaya. Oh, and Chris Chalk. Okay. And it is from the producing team of Andy Muschietti and Jason Fuchs and Barbara Muschietti, who, of course, all did It and It Chapter 2. So it is in that same cinematic universe of the It movies from Andy Muschietti. Mitch, let's talk It Welcome to Derry in non-spoilers. What were your expectations going into it, and how did you feel about the season as a whole?
Sure. So I'll give you just like a little bit of context. I was Stephen King played a very large role. Former English teacher. I'm a huge bookworm. Stephen King played a huge role in my love of reading growing up. Like, I probably started reading Stephen King novels when I was like 10 or 11 years old. Probably like a little too young to be reading a lot of those. And I would say that his novel It is probably his masterpiece. It's like one of the great horror novels ever written. It's like a horror epic, and there really aren't that many epics within the horror genre. Even in novel form. I think it holds up great to this day. I literally have the same copy I read 20 years ago on my shelf, the paperback over there to my left.
I love that.
And it has Tim Curry's Pennywise on the paperback, so it's a tie-in for that miniseries.
Nice.
Loved that miniseries when I was a kid. Will absolutely admit that there are a lot of things that have not aged well about it. It's pretty corny. But Tim Curry that holds up. He was amazing in the show. I thought the It movies were okay. I thought that they were very well shot. I thought that Bill Skarsgård was a lot of fun as Pennywise the Clown. I liked how they kind of went for this more monstrous, like alien-looking version of Pennywise. I thought it was a really smart move. I did feel that the movies had this and I think just adapting such a complex, a novel with such a complex structure is difficult to put in movie form. And I found that the movies were a little bit annoying, where it would be like, let's meet this character. Oh, here's it, jump scare.
Yeah.
Let's meet this character. Here's it, jump scare. And kind of both movies just do that. And then they each end with just a big confrontation. And I found that setup pretty disappointing. And I also thought the movies relied very heavily on pretty poor CGI work that I think really robbed some kind of gory kind of, for better or worse, like some money shots, right? Like these scenes would end with this big scare, and then this bad CGI or unconvincing effect would kind of like sap the moment of its tension. All of a sudden you're like, oh, right, I'm watching like a movie. Yeah. I think like the best example is like the opening scene of the first one with the famous like Georgie and the paper boat.
Mm-hmm.
And when that starts out so great, the tension, the way it's shot, Bill Skarsgård's performance, amazing. And then he kind of turns into a CGI monster and bites his arm off, and like bad CGI blood sprays everywhere. And you're just kind of like, it was just an underwhelming finish to like a very strong start. And I felt like that was a pretty consistent theme. So going into this show, I really didn't have much in the way of expectations. I enjoyed the movies enough that I was like, I'm at least going to watch the first episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I already just thought the idea of making like an extra textual adaptation of this novel, personally, that just doesn't do much for me. Like, at least the idea of it, it's like, okay, we have this novel, we've adapted the novel. This feels like we're just trying to squeeze more content out of a already complete thought,
Yep.
And I will say that the first couple episodes I found were really pretty fun overall. There is, no pun intended, some like batshit insane stuff in the first episode or two.
Oh, yeah.
It really goes all out with the gore. It honestly played like kind of fun fan fiction to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that like in an entirely derogatory way, in the sense that like, in the novel, there's all these scenes we get of like flashbacks of the kids of like, I saw Pennywise in the boiler room in my school and he turned into a werewolf and chased me, They don't have any of that stuff in the movie just because they don't have time to put that in the movie.
Right.
This kind of felt like we were getting a lot. The first half of the season felt like we were getting a lot of those kind of cool sequences and seeing these different forms of Pennywise in a way I thought was like really fun. And I was kind of like, I'm actually cool with Bill Skarsgård not being in the show yet because like I'm actually having fun with seeing Pennywise take all these different forms.
Sure.
And there were like 2 or 3 scenes where I was like, this is genuinely pretty unsettling. Unfortunately, I think the show pretty much falls off a cliff about 4 episodes in and rarely springs back to life. I thought by the end it was pretty bad. First of all, no spoilers, but I think the show over-explains and demystifies Pennywise to basically an unforgivable degree. We now have all these rules of how he can be defeated and what he needs. And, if you have this little totem, it stops him dead in his tracks and just things like that where I'm just like, everything you're doing here is making him less and less scary. By the end, the show also does, I think you could show too much of a character to make them less scary. It was great to see Bill Skarsgård back in the role. He's fun. He's undeniably a really entertaining. His performance is big and goofy and fun and chilling when it needs to be. But by the end of the show, what they do with Pennywise and what he is doing is so large scale and kind of ridiculous that it's sort of like it just feels silly and this is no longer scary. Like you're showing me too much. It would be like if Jason Voorhees, if we saw him take down 100 Marines or something, I don't know, like in like a force, it'd just be like, okay, so he's just this unstoppable giant thing. Why hasn't he just taken over the world at this point, or whatever? They're no longer scary.
To be fair, isn't that technically like the beginning of Jason Goes to Hell, though?
That's true, and it is a that movie is a masterpiece.
Oh,
but
yes,
there's only
yes.
like 10 of those guys.
Sure.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That
No, I
might
get
be a
what you
bad
mean.
parallel. And I will say this: I hold Stephen King's It mythos and story in much higher regard than I hold the Friday the 13th series.
Same.
And you know, one is just absolute trash, and one I think is like an actual genuinely great story. Love them both for different reasons, though. But
yeah.
Anyways, I'll wrap it up by just saying, like, you know, there is a military subplot in this show that takes more and more center stage as the show goes on. I thought that was disastrous. And where that goes, when you find out what the ultimate plan is, how many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
In a movie? I mean, it's like now I'm in a Jurassic World sequel. You know, it just that was just so tired, so disappointing, and finally, like the movies, I think the CGI is even worse in this show. Unfortunately, there is some really cool, effective buildups. There's a scene where Pennywise is in the form of an old man in the woods that's like genuinely unsettling. And then he turns into like a 30-foot tall old man monster chasing this kid. And it's the most laughable thing you've ever seen, in my opinion. I just couldn't, it just completely killed the moment. And the finale of the show, the final episode, is just people running around this awful, ugly, gray, green screen fog that just looks so terrible and is just bizarre why they would choose such a visually unexciting location. I just didn't understand that at all. Yeah. And I think, Matt, like, if I'm sounding harsh, it's because like I love it. I love Stephen King. I love Stephen King's It. This is supposed to be a prestige HBO horror series. You know, about one of the best, most iconic horror novels of all time, and it just felt kind of a little poorly executed in ways that I just feel like we can do better than this. And that's not to say that there is stuff I liked about it. There are some subplots, particularly involving the guy getting framed for the children's murder, and how some of the kids factor into that, and seeing stuff referenced like the black spot, which only gets like a passing reference in the book, get totally recontextualized here was cool. You know, there's some stuff that I definitely liked, but I just felt overall I felt pretty disappointed in the show.
That's totally fair. And what's interesting is I'll go ahead and share some thoughts of mine, and we can dig into it. I recognize a lot of those criticisms and faults, but I loved this show. I thought it was great. And it's funny because I had the same thought about the finale. Like, multiple times I was thinking like, oh, they blew their budget on all of the set pieces up until this point. So like they just need to just map a green screen on something and just have like completely like not even fully rendered scenery because it's all foggy and everything. Like I had those like thoughts in my head, and like there are some things in this season that feel like it is very much Andy Muschietti. And I mean that in somewhat derogatory terms. So like my biggest criticism of it chapter 2 was that I hated the whole fetch quest video game thing where they need to find a totem and they need to burn them all in a small trash can so that they could defeat Pennywise. Like that's not that I know that it's hard to do the ending of it from the book. It's like too metaphysical and everything, but like to have like in It Chapter 2, I kept thinking like, oh, this is like that episode of Friends in the first or second season, the one with the blackout where the girls put their trinkets from past relationships and they burn them in a trash can. Like that's not what I want to think about when I'm watching an It adaptation.
Right.
And I say that because the show veered very close to that type of thing. Like it just seemed tired that it was like, oh, the military needs to do this with these objects. And we need to find them. It's like, oh, okay, what is your deal with like doing these like totems and like hidden things? Like you don't, that's tired at this point.
Remove it entirely almost from the show.
Oh yeah.
And like not that much would change.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I remember you had messaged me before the show aired, and it's funny to hear your thoughts on it now, because you had messaged me and was like, so this is the plot for this is apparently the plot.
I realize how much of a spoiler that actually turned out to be.
Oh yeah,
because like it was all right, it was all correct.
Yeah,
was the thing.
Oh yeah,
but all those things are kind of revealed in like the last half of the season.
Well, to be honest, I don't think I read the full thing.
Okay, good for you. I apologize. I thought that was like the premise we were.
Oh no, not at all.
And that wasn't really.
My only takeaway from it at the time and now was that it was like, oh, this is about a military operation in Derry to try to get control of it or something. To get control of Pennywise. That's all I kind of really. Well, I don't know if that's not really a spoiler, is it?
They go full Dreamcatcher with Pennywise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I was. All I was missing was like Morgan Freeman with like giant ass eyebrows walking around.
Sure. And people shitting aliens or whatever it is. So. Despite those issues and everything, I was a sucker for this just because it's depicting an era of Derry that is digitized or not, like overly digitized or not. It definitely feels like the Derry of the It movies. Like it just felt like very comfortable in that respect. And to even have like the Derry standpipe feature so prominently, again, very digital and very green screen, but to have that be such a pivotal location is really nice, and it's like checking all the boxes for me that it needs to. And then there's a character that I don't know if we really want to go into it without spoilers, but a character that I think is cast wonderfully. And
are you talking about a character who's in another Stephen King novel?
Yes. Should we?
I think that's fine to bring him up because he's in the first episode.
Oh yeah. So Dick Halloran is in the show, and that connection, like throughout the show, throughout the episodes, and you'll hear this on Patreon and everything. I kept thinking, oh my God, this is the spiritual season 3 of Castle Rock. Like this is taking many different things from Stephen King and remixing it and putting it together, but kind of containing it more toward the It lore. And I was all for that. Like even references to the turtle, just like nice little like nods and everything. And the way that Dick Halloran is developed throughout the season, like I found myself in moments like, oh wow, I'm watching Dick Halloran talk to this character that's tied to another character in It about Pennywise. Like what the fuck is going on? And
it is jarring.
Yeah. And like I felt that in a good way, and I don't know if that's me just succumbing to fan service when I probably should be a little bit more discerning with it, but it worked on me. And there's also a cast of kids that are kind of at the center of it that are kind of like the proto losers club. And I understand you need to have that in It because that's what It is all about. It, like you said, it is a horror masterpiece, but it's also this brilliant coming of age drama with this group of kids. And if you want to subscribe to the people on TikTok who just heard about 6 pages of the book and figured that, oh no, it's terrible and Stephen King is a monster, then, you know, you can have your druthers there. I don't know why the fuck you're listening to this, but anyway, but even that I talk about that on Patreon a little bit, but anyway, I was still pretty enamored with it. I do agree that there are some issues. There are some things toward the end that Pennywise does feel, like you said, it feels too large scale to the point that it feels like it is in the face of what the It book is and story is all about, in terms of, you know, these kids fight this entity and then have to come back and they don't remember the fight, like the hidden trauma of that. And like, this is like a different beast entirely in terms of the scale and everything.
Well, I think, and first of all, like, beautifully said, Matt.
Oh, thank you.
And you know what? Like, look, as a Stephen King super fan, I think you're absolutely entitled to, well, enjoy whatever you want, but like,
Sure.
appreciate the fan service if you find it's done well, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think fan service has now kind of become this like very derogatory term,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like, I think it's just because we've seen so much poorly done fan service.
Yes.
That, you know, when you see it done well, it's actually like very satisfying. I think the problem is when it becomes like the text of the story you're watching, when you're like, okay, like that's not in and of itself interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here I will admit, like, I think for the most part, like references to the turtle and things like that, that's shit only like weird nerds like us even.
Oh yeah.
No, and it did it in like a pretty cool, tasteful way. This is just a matter of personal taste, obviously, but like for me, the appeal or what makes it, the novel, so scary is and you know, Nightmare on Elm Street very much, it kind of has a similar taps into a similar fear, which is like, there's something evil here. Only we kids can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sort of ambiguous nature of like what is kind of infected by Pennywise?
Mm-hmm.
How like far do his kind of tendrils go? You know what I mean? Into like infecting this town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are some of these adults evil or ignorant to us because of Pennywise's influence, or is it just because they're adults and they don't believe us? It's probably a little bit of both, right? And there's just this ambiguity there that makes it scary.
Mm-hmm.
When you just take out any ambiguity whatsoever, and he's just like the equivalent of like a supervillain in like a Marvel movie, you know, it's just like, to me, I'm just like, this isn't like what I think. I don't think this makes like Pennywise scary. Like Pennywise is basically like in God mode by the end of this. And just for me, I'm like, that's not the direction I personally want to see Pennywise to go.
Sure.
I much prefer him to be this secret evil that like some people are unfortunate enough to encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that to me is much scarier than just like, yeah, the military's after him. All of the Native Americans know who he is. They've seen him a million times. Like everybody in town knows him. Like, you know, just like all that stuff. Like, are there a couple fun moments in there? Like, for sure. There's like, there are like some things that are just like on a surface level, like kind of just fun, schlocky horror movie stuff. But it just felt too silly, you know, like there's nothing sinister about it or ambiguous. And like that to me is like, I think what I want out of this specific story. So
that's fair. And it's funny because we talked about the CGI and everything. And like I just keep thinking like the issues I have with the finale, which are, you know, I'll talk more in depth about it in Patreon and in spoilers, but, the issues I have with the finale boil down to a lot of those like CGI issues like we talked about. And like, I'm just remembering like how shitty the Flash looked in the climax of the Flash. And like, okay, yeah, that seems kind of Indy Muschietti's thing.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird, and I'm definitely down to talk about it in spoilers here soon because I feel like we should get more in depth about this. But it's weird that Andy Muschietti in particular seems to kind of have this weird issue with his CGI, and I don't know if it's. I think in the case of the Flash, I think that was probably beyond his control.
Yeah, that's fair.
I cannot imagine that like shitty CGI Nicolas Cage was like, that's what I want. Like, that's the perfect version of it. You know, like, I think we would all just want to see Nicolas Cage as dressed up as Superman, right? Like, that would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, spoilers for the Flash. But it does seem to kind of be, it does seem to be an issue in kind of all of his stuff. And I honestly just think it's a matter of taste for him.
Yeah.
You know, I think I don't want to mischaracterize what our colleague and friend Evan Dossie said, but I remember him once talking to me and he was like, man, like, it just annoys me. I could be wrong here, but I remember him saying something to the effect of like, people over fetishize like practical effects. And I don't necessarily disagree, but for me, I just think I cannot deny that like movies that I really am enjoying, they do die on bad CGI. There are horror movies that just get killed for me with bad CGI. And we have so many modern horror movie directors, like the A24 type guys, and that really, you can just tell they only use practical effects and stuff. Like there seems to be kind of a resurgence in that. And I think with somebody like Andy Muschietti he's just somebody like who genuinely, he probably isn't, he probably likes the look of like CGI gore and stuff. And I think that's just an artistic decision for him. And that's just not one that for me personally works. Can't speak for the man, but I just feel like it's so consistent in his body of work that, you know, like it's not like he couldn't afford to make these things more practical if he wanted to. Because these things have a huge budget.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think because I'm not trying to convince you that it's good or anything.
No. Obviously. I'm so curious to hear your opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I feel like once. There was a whole thing. We can probably talk about this in spoilers too. But there was a whole thing. Just this is a gripe, but apparently people were quick to categorize the black spot subplot in this movie or in the show as a ripoff of Sinners, which bothers me so much because it's media literacy problems.
They were probably filmed at the same time. And second, it's also like, I get it, like the image of black people in a historical setting being like trapped in a burning building by white supremacists, like that image is a central set piece in both that episode and obviously in Sinners. But I mean, absurd.
It's also referenced in the book that came out in 1986. So, like,
and not only that, it's like, can it not have a burning building?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Can you not have a subplot about this?
It's like
and just the fact, that's tired.
Yeah, it makes me think of this thing that I keep thinking of, and then we can go into spoilers, so we can talk more in depth. But this thing I keep thinking about is like the whole knee-jerk reaction, like completely unthought out criticisms and analyses and everything online. It makes me think of like I'm waiting to see a TikTok or reel or a post somewhere that has someone who is completely not, like, this is completely not satire, but I'm waiting to see someone make a sincere post that says something like, did you know this about this David Fincher movie 7? That, you know, if you pay attention, the deaths, they're all patterned after the 7 deadly sins. Like,
Yes.
I'm waiting for that to happen and for my mind to explode with just annoyance. So,
Well, I've seen the joke one about Home Alone. Have you seen that one where it's like Joe Pesci plays the police officer at the beginning? Remember, he's like scoping out the
Jesus
house. You know,
Christ. Yeah.
But like that one, I think it's supposed to be satire.
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
like, that's like a perfect bit of satire because that is very much the type of. I mean, the problem is like the internet's a terrible place because all of the worst opinions and all of the dumbest takes and worst opinions, of course, get the most traction because they provoke a really intense reaction out of people.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I don't have Twitter on my phone.
Mm-hmm. That's why I don't really, well, I can't say I don't really check Twitter or anything, but like, I don't check Twitter, but like, I will browse TikTok and everything. And I'll post, you know, reels and TikToks and everything, just because I want people to listen to the show. But anyway,
that's a positive use of the platform, though. Right? We need more OV listeners out there.
Exactly. And like, here's the thing about that. Also, then we'll go into spoilers. I posted a reel today and a TikTok today. That's a clip from episode 497 of the Obsessive Viewer. But it's me and Brent talking about Wake Up Dead Man and Rian Johnson. And in the clip, I talk about how like, oh, I loved The Last Jedi. And I go on in the episode to say like, I'm glad that Rian Johnson never did get to make his Star Wars trilogy just because we got a Knives Out trilogy instead, and I'm much more attuned to that. But like the clip says like, oh, it has me saying like, oh, I love The Last Jedi, and not to be different or anything, but I'm just not really a Star Wars fan, and that one really breached the boundaries of what the franchise was, and I was intrigued by that. And like I got a comment that was just like breached meaning breach boundaries meaning continuity, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, are you trying to say like, oh, it's not breaching boundaries, it's breaching the continuity of the franchise when the next installment has Palpatine somehow returning?
It's hilarious how like 9 years later you can't mention The Last Jedi on the internet without people freaking out. Like, it's almost been a fucking decade since that movie came out.
Yes. And did I intentionally clip that part of the episode to try to get traction on social media? Maybe.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Me. I'm to say. But but what do you say that we go into spoilers for It, Welcome to Derry?
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and go into spoilers for It, Welcome to Derry Season 1. And yeah, so if you haven't watched it or you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and, navigate around us with timestamps, because I don't think we're doing anything after this. But yeah, fair warning. Here's a clip from the trailer for Welcome to Derry. When we come back, we're going to be spoiling the first season.
Too much down here, do you, Stanley?
You know, it's hard not to miss the things you leave behind.
We're getting into the swing of it, though. Starting to feel like home.
Things happen here. We don't really talk about it. No one does.
They never even found a body.
Okay, so spoilers on. I didn't expect it to end that abruptly, but spoilers on for It, Welcome to Derry Season 1. Mitch, where do you want to begin with this glowing prestige television season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely stuff we can, things we can discuss that I enjoyed, and I would say probably For me, probably the highlight of the season would be either the first episode with like the freaky bat baby.
Oh yes.
Birthing scene. I mean, that was just so balls out insane that I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm paying attention.
Yeah, the opening and closing of that episode were like, I was just like, oh, I'm in it. Like this is intense. Like they're really going for it.
I mean, for them to kind of pull a psycho and, you know, kill off these kids that you think are going to be the main characters of the show was also very cool. I also really enjoyed the whole Black Spot episode. I thought the subplot, you know, I'm of like two minds about this, where it's like, you know, it's doing the prequel thing where it's like, why is Pennywise dressed up like a clown? Like, I don't want to know that. And the answer they give us is because he saw a clown one time. Well, I know it's because he's like, you attract the children. The children see something in you. But that was such a like, you know, I mean, he basically just like passed a circus one day and I was like, all right, I'm gonna like, this is gonna be my thing. And you know, I mean, like, I just didn't find that a very like I was just like, okay, like I could have come up with that. Like,
sure. But I feel like that's somewhat canonical to the book because they talk about Bob Gray, and even in the adaptation for It Chapter 2, like there's like the whole Mrs. Kirsch scene does kind of go into that. So like I feel like there's precedence for it, but I get what you're saying.
That's fair. That's fair because like I will say like it has been a long time since I've read the novel.
Me
so,
too.
Like,
so I could be completely wrong.
Details like I also like there's something I learned recently that like in the It novel when they mention the Black Spot they do mention Dick Halloran was there in the novel, which that kind of gave me a pass because like. Or that kind of like made me a little more forgiving because I have to say just from like a gut reaction, you know, I think it's just like MCU fatigue.
Sure.
That I have that like anytime I catch a whiff of something trying to like build this extended universe, I'm immediately like very skeptical. Not saying it can't be done well, like you know, and not saying it like makes me mad every time, like, but just you know the fact that like Dick Halloran I knew was going to be a big thing in the show. I was kind of like and I will say like I thought the casting was great. I did think that was cool how they found a way to actually incorporate like, oh, here's the context of like. What actually happened in the Black Spot. You now have this deeper understanding of it and why Dick Halloran was there. I thought that was really cool. I do think, you know, again, I just think it's like this show just going a little too big, everything needing to kind of be like blockbuster level stakes. Like I didn't need they basically make Dick Halloran like Professor X in this in terms of like just like in terms of like how powerful he is. Yeah. And you know, I didn't really need that. To me, like, I like Dick Halloran in my mind. Again, this is everything I'm saying is like a personal preference, obviously. It's a very like nitpicky fan thing. But like, I like how like Dick Halloran is portrayed in The Shining, which is just like, I'm a dude and I get visions sometimes. You know, like I can see this kid that is in trouble, you know? Because if he was that powerful, he would have stopped Jack Torrance way before any of that stuff happened.
You know,
I mean, this is so nitpicky, but you know what I mean?
That's a fair point. But I will say that maybe the like elixir that Rose gave him like quelled his powers or whatever, and in the show, like I will say that. The casting, Chris Chalk as Dick Halloran, I think is brilliant casting. I thought he did a phenomenal job. And like for a character who is now like such a prominent character in adaptations. I mean, you've got Obviously, Scatman Crothers in the Kubrick movie. You've got Marvin Van Peebles in the 90s Shining miniseries, and then you've got Carl Lumbly in Dr. Sleep. Now we have Chris Chalk, and I think that like it's just great casting across the board on all of these adaptations. But speaking of Dr. Sleep, again, I loved how this show incorporated some things from other Stephen King materials, namely The Shining and also Dr. Sleep. So I don't know if you've read Dr. Sleep. So I can't remember. Were you one of the IFJA members who hated the movie?
I was one of the only ones who loved it.
Thank you. Yes,
I loved it.
Yes, same here.
I'm not even like a Mike Flanagan fanboy. Like I went in just being like, whatever, and I walked out being like, that was way better than the book, in my opinion. Yeah,
I didn't have my list of IFJ members that are dead to me readily available, so I apologize. But no, I loved how this show incorporated the lockbox stuff from Dr. Sleep. And I just thought that was just such a nice touch that, you know, we have that context for him. But I hinted at it in the non-spoiler section, but I love the fact that like we have like a version of Dick Hallorann who was talked off the ledge of killing himself by the grandfather of Mike Hanlon from It, so that they could go and defeat Pennywise. Like, there's just something, again, fan servicey, but there's something that's just really, really pleasant to me about that. And I think maybe it's because I was such a fanboy for Castle Rock. But yeah, I thought that was great. And also the using actors from previous Stephen King adaptations. Giovanna Depo was in the much maligned Stand miniseries on CBS in 2020, and he played Larry Underwood in that, which I thought he did a great job. So anyway, but he was great here. But anyway, I liked it. But to kind of talk more about the finale and the end game things, and I know we're skipping over some stuff and we'll talk more about it, but the big scale thing, I liked the imagery, what I could see of it, with Pennywise guiding the floating students across the frozen river. I thought that was cool. I got a little lost in terms of what his plan was to breach the boundary and be let out because the military wanted him to be,
so he could just like take over the world, basically.
Yeah, which does feel a little too big.
and it's also just like, I never really get the sense in honestly, up until this show, there just seems to be a lot of things that are like inconsistent with like even the movies before it, where it's like, again, you honestly have a better memory of some of these details than I do, but I never really got the sense in the movies or the novel that it's what he wants is to take over everything and just unleash on everybody. I always felt like he's like, I'm a thing that's like kind of chilling and hiding, and I feed off of fear in children, but I'm not like trying to just like engulf the whole world,
right?
Like, and so it just felt kind of weird that it was like in the show, it's like, no, he's trying to take over the whole town. That's what he wants to do. It's like, why is he just doing that now? Like,
yeah, it does seem a little inconsistent, because like his whole deal is like the 27-year cycle. That's the whole point of it, is that I've never seen it as like, oh, he needs to, like, the reason why he why he goes into hibernation every 27 years or for 27 years is because he has been defeated by kids or something. Like, it's never that. It feels like it's, he has a cycle. Like, he feasts in a short amount of time and then he sleeps for 27 years. Like, that's it.
And you probably enjoy. And I will say, one awesome thing is I loved the image of Pennywise in the blood, like with his head just poking out of the blood and all of the remains and all, the hundreds of people he's killed. Like, that was really cool. Like,
Yes.
like there are some like cool images and cool moments. In that black spot scene, I loved when he finally meets that insane clown girl who like works at the hospital.
Mrs. Kirsch.
I liked her whole arc. I enjoyed that, how she starts as someone that you're like, oh, she's really like, for a person in Derry, she's like an unusually kind adult to this girl who literally, almost to a comical degree, this girl has the worst life ever. Like,
oh yes,
goes her way ever, to the point where I was like, come on, like, give this girl
yes.
But I was like, wow, she's like actually really nice. And of course, like, she ends up being like a completely insane person.
Oh yeah. And the funny thing is, I had forgotten, and I'm retreading Patreon things, I'm sorry, but I had forgotten that Mrs. Kirsch was a character, like in the book and everything. So like, I had remembered the name, and like I kept like racking my brain through multiple episodes and in multiple reviews on Patreon. It's like, oh, what is Mrs. Kirsch? I know that name, but I don't know what it is. And I suddenly was like, oh, Kirsch is the last name of a character in Scream 5 and 6. That's what I'm mixing it up with. And then the very next episode, it's like, oh no, wait, she's the old lady that Bev visits in It Chapter 2. Oh, did you not catch that?
That's wait, yes, because they showed it at the very end of the season, right? Yes. Okay. I mean, that's cool. And honestly, it, like, if anything, this season, like, I didn't think it was like a complete piece of shit. I wasn't like, oh my god, like, I'm offended. I was just like, like, this is just not the direction I want this to go, and I just had a lot of issues with it. But there's definitely some redeeming stuff in it, I thought like the two performances I really liked were like, I liked Steven Ryder as like Hank Grogan. I liked Taylor Page is like always fantastic as Charlotte Hanlon, and obviously, like we talked about, Chris Chalk I thought was really good. Now, again, I feel like, you know me, I've been on this podcast before. I'm not usually a guy to like pick apart little things. Like, I'm not that guy usually, especially with horror stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's crazy. But for some reason, like with Stephen King, something I love this much, I'm like, no. Like, even me, like, I was like, Chris Chalk was great as Dick Halloran, and I don't think this is a fault of his performance, but I'm like, this doesn't seem like the Dick Halloran that we know in The Shining, like, at all, in terms of just like how powerful he is, but also just like his personality. Like, this Dick Halloran is like, I'm really pissed off and moody, like, all the time. And you know what? Listen, people change over the decades. So, maybe this experience turned him into like a sweet old man, but I was like, this does not seem like the guy's like, what's up, Doc? Like, yeah.
But also I will defend that slightly by saying, like, he is also being used by the military to, like, he's under some stress.
No. And he's like a military badass. Like, I think when you get out of the military, no, that's like such a minor nitpick. But, I mean, his performance was great. I think it's more just like the characterization of Pennywise is kind of like the main thing that I find to just be like very inconsistent. And everything just feels very like, it just feels very like, almost like I'm watching an MCU movie or like a superhero movie in terms of just like how big everything gets. I mean, by the time when we see Rich Santos, the little kid, and he's like running with like whatever the fuck he has, like the dagger, the totem, and he has to like stab the thing, and there's like 30 minutes of him in slow motion.
He's running. His ghost is running to help them stick it in the ground, and like, that is very.
It felt very like Blue Beam in Sky superhero movie.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that did kind of bother me a little bit. I will say that the kids were maybe my favorite part of the whole series, the whole show. and I had a question I was going to ask you later, which I will still ask you, but I feel like I already know the answer, about the future of the It universe and Dick Halloran. But regardless, I'll table that for now. But the kids, I feel what this show does really well, with a couple asterisks there, is the kids are very good in terms of being that coming of age teen sort of like awkward social dynamics and everything. And in particular, the character of Marge and her being torn between her friendship with Lily and her friendship with the Patty Cakes and wanting to be popular and all this stuff. Like the whole thing that leads up to her eye being all messed up is really good dramatic storytelling, like teen drama storytelling, because it feels authentic that, yeah, she will sell out her friend in order to remain a part of the popular clique. And it reached a point where later on, after they did the whole Niebolt Street thing, when she and Rich are having lunch and the Patty Cakes come up and they're like, oh, you're going to sit here with these freaks? You're not going to sit with us or whatever? Like, there was a moment where I was so invested in it. I was like, is she going to sell out Rich now? Is that going to be like a drama thing? Like, is it going to be a whole thing? And I was like, genuinely, like, I didn't care about any of the Pennywise stuff or anything. I was like, has she changed enough from that point with Lily to now realize, like, oh, my true friend is Rich and the freaks and everything? And she did, to very lengthy applause from me and my cat in my apartment.
I found that a satisfying character arc as well. Like, it's, you know, it's one we've seen a bunch of times, but I thought it was like executed well here.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I mean, it's like a coming of age thing, right? So it's like, of course, it's like, it's a well-tread, like, narrative. And like, I thought for the most part that was like executed very well. And I did think like her like kind of budding romance with Rich, and then like the way he dies, like that was like that got me. Like,
me
I was
too.
Like, yeah, like that was very harrowing and like and very effective. Like there is like, I think, in my opinion, if you changed the entire climax of like what this thing does, there's like a really good 2-hour It prequel movie in this like 8-episode season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would also say that I did feel that like, but this is, you can say this about like every streaming show almost, which is like, it just feels a little padded at times. I was never like, I think like, it seems like every streaming show, or not everyone, but a lot of them, it's like, there's always like this like lull in the middle, like, you know, like the middle 2 episodes kind of like don't advance the story at all. But you know, that's kind of like sort of the least of my issues. I think there's like enough strong stuff in here that I really did enjoy, that I think you could have made a really cool, like It kind of prequel movie. And I will say it was also very clever. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but the way it seemed, right? Like it basically says like, hey, I see all time at once, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like very Christopher Nolan-y. Like, he's like, I see time all at once. So like, I know your kids eventually kill me. So like, it's kind of almost a sequel and a prequel at the same time. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I was like, oh, like, you know, like, it's like, oh, that's interesting that like, in some ways this is like, after the movies where he's like, I gotta go back and kill these parents. Now, it's also just one of those prequel things, though, where like, a prequel needs to be this like epic story in its own right, you know? Where it's like, there's just something that where it's like, okay, so like also their parents, like this is the kids we see in the other 2 movies, this is their parents doing all this.
Right.
Like, this happened to their, you know, there's just something about that where you're just like, what? Like, I don't know. I didn't need them to be directly related.
Sure.
But I get it because he's like, this is how I stop myself from getting killed.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. I do like how they tied that together at the end, because I did feel a little bit shaky at the start, thinking like, oh, well, okay, Mike Hanlon's father is involved with this. And like, one thing that I did get semi-spoiled on was that Marge is Richie's mother. Just because I saw, like I had seen a screen grab of Pennywise holding the Richie flyer, and I kind of put two and two together. But on the flip side, I wasn't upset that I had that spoiled, because that made Rich's death land even harder for me, because I was like close to tears, thinking like, oh my God, he's sacrificing himself so that she'll live, and like she will go on to name her son after him. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was definitely a cool like yeah, I will say, like, this doesn't do the prequel stuff. I know there's probably other examples of like the Han Solo movie and stuff where it's like, oh, he's flying solo, let's call him Han Solo, you know, stuff like that, where it's just like, wow,
I need a
like,
name for my clown act. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a penny over there. And there's an old wise man in the corner. It's like this show does like prequel stuff that is like, oh, it's not super obvious. It's not stopping the narrative dead in its tracks. For the most part, it's not like, it's not stopping the story dead in its tracks to be like, so here's how these things connect that you didn't wonder about at all. Right. Which I appreciate. Like, that it's something like you mentioned about, like, you have to actually think about that, and you have to have like a deeper knowledge and memory of the story. Yeah. But you can also just watch it and enjoy it and not think about that. And that is actually well done fan service, which is more than most prequels can say.
Exactly. And it doesn't, that I could detect, it doesn't really retcon anything too heavily. So like, it's not like a thing where, oh, the black spot was referenced in the book, and the actual story of it is that it wasn't actually a club. It was a spot of ink on the ground, and that's where people congregated. Like, it doesn't do anything that just like swings so far out of left field from what the text is. But it does do stuff in its own unique way, for sure. But one of the things, in terms of the fan service and the kind of wraparound thing of him being all knowing, essentially, that I didn't take to, was like, you referenced Nolan and like Christopher Nolan earlier. Like, I feel like the dialogue in like the finale toward the end was like way too like dumbing it down for us. Like, the whole scene where Ronnie is talking to Marge is talking to Ronnie and saying like, or maybe Lily, I'm not sure, but she's like, you know, when I was alone with him, he said that my son is going to kill him. And do you think that, you know, every 27 years, he's like, if he can go back in time, is he going to go back and try to kill our parents? And like, it's almost with like a wink, like, yeah, because next season it's going to be 1935, and we're going to see Pennywise and Derry in 1935. And it's like, just, I mean, there was a lot of violence in this show, but that was the most violence I had because it was hitting me over the head with a hammer.
That felt very much like a studio note, being like, hey, some people might not be putting this together, so you need to explain this. Also, I felt like I'm not going to be recalling this perfectly, but like Pennywise, when he's talking to like Marge and the kid at the very end of the finale, he's like, your kids go on and kill me, and like he's like, and also this is how I see time, so this is why I'm going back and doing this. And I'm like, Pennywise doesn't give a fuck about stuff like that. Like he doesn't. Pennywise is like this like primordial being and force. It's just weird to think of him being like, I need to make sure I like explain my plans so they can kind of like understand like what it is I'm like trying to do right now.
He's
like,
monologuing.
yeah. He's like, I'm like really get. I also, and this is definitely gonna be me, I'm probably misremembering something, but like I get that like when people leave Derry, they forget. Like totally know that. Think that's a really cool thing from the book. Love how they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Pennywise at the end of this thing kills a school principal.
Yeah.
Gets the principal up on stage and like plays him like a puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And then puts the entire school in a trance and has them following him like a thing. It's like, how is that not something people talk about? Like,
yeah.
That would be the craziest thing that's ever happened in this town.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's like just the kind of thing where I'm like, too big, too much. Like, okay, this is like now this is now way crazier than anything happens.
Yes. And
that happens.
It does kind of go against the text and the original book, because I feel like the whole point of like the Losers Club is that they are a group of misfit kids who join together and they defeat Pennywise. Like by design, and because of the subtext of the whole coming of age thing and the loss of innocence throughout this shared trauma that the Losers Club experience, and it's because they're a self-contained thing. Like we talked about, the adults in the town don't care because they're under Pennywise's spell. Either that or they just don't care. 1 or 2, 50-50 chance of that. But having the Losers Club be like a very small band of kids that try to that do take down Pennywise, that is what the point of it is. And to have it, Welcome to Derry, have the entirety of like Derry High School witness their principal get slaughtered, and then have them be in a trance and paraded onto a frozen river so that they can be food for Pennywise's long journey across the world. Like I agree. That's too big. It's too big, especially when the whole point of people forgetting about the things in Derry is them leaving and forgetting it. And like it doesn't, like an entire school has now seen everything. And it just seems
it's all out there. And there's something really scary about the novel, especially of like these kids know this secret, this like evil secret, right? And it's like, I mean, the whole thing is like the evil lying beneath like the shiny, clean, small town, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like the whole thing. So when it's just like, oh no, this is just like utter complete chaos. And don't get me wrong, there is something fun about seeing it like in a stage full of kids and they're all freaking out and he's like fighting their principal like it kind of reminds me of like to be kind of a horror nerd here, like the second Nightmare on Elm Street movie when Freddy Krueger is at the pool party and he's just like he's like in the whole world and he's just like slaughtering all of these party goers and everyone's just like 24 people just running around, and there's like a weird, he like sends out like a weird Freddy Krueger dog at one point with like a human face, and you're like Freddy Krueger's never been able to do that before or since, but he's just gonna do it this one time. And there's something like fun. It's like, oh, this is cool that like Freddy Krueger is like slaughtering all these people in the real world, but you're also like, this breaks everything about Freddy Krueger because if he could just do that, he would just be doing that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's the thing is that I think with like if you're going to go beyond the text of a novel, if you are inherently saying like, or you are putting yourself up for speculation of people being like, is this a cash grab? Right? It's like you've adapted the book, so you like can't adapt the book again, right? Like Andy Muschietti's not going to make the movies again, so it's like, but they want to do more. So to me, it's like you need to convince me that this was like a story that really needed to be told.
Yeah.
And I will say that, like, to me, I don't think it's like a definitive no on my part. I'm not like, man, what a soulless cash grab trying to just milk this franchise dry. I genuinely thought like there are ways in which they expanded upon the characters that were pretty cool. But there was also stuff, that I did feel like I was like, well, that is an inherently bad idea. And I think the most offensive narrative choice, though, to me is just like the military wanting to use Pennywise as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like that was a cool subplot one time in James Cameron's Aliens. That was one time they made that subplot cool. It has never been cool in any other thing ever. And like this is no exception. It's like as soon as he tells you, like, it's also the dumbest fucking plan in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's the dumbest plan. It's like, hey, this is a thing we don't understand and is going to kill. But they're like, yeah, we need to do this because there's like race riots and there's just like some civil unrest right now. So if we just send this demon to just slaughter thousands of people en masse, that actually would be pretty good. That doesn't. How does that solve your problem? And how does that make things more peaceful?
I will say, I do agree with you on there. Like, the more I think about it, the more I am a little bit annoyed by that revelation in the show, because like at the beginning, like the way it's presented is like, oh, there's something under Derry that needs, like, the complete obliviousness to it felt so much more intriguing than the idea that General Shaw like had a run-in with Pennywise back in his childhood and now he wants to weaponize him. Like, no, we don't need that. Like, just have it be that these human beings that are in positions of power don't understand what they're fucking with, and they like do whatever. Like, that's enough to carry through.
Make it like The Thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we found this thing. I also just didn't think like the Native American stuff was that compelling at all. Like in terms of like it just felt very cliche to me. Like, oh, of course they know everything about it, and they're the ones who are keeping it at bay, and they know every single rule about Pennywise. And it's just like, again, it's like, the more you explain to me, like, it's like, okay, Pennywise is basically like a god, like almost like in this show, like he's like this like omnipotent like demon, and then it's like, oh, so you're just like, there's like a few little pieces of stone.
Yeah.
Again,
that bothered me.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I mean, again, it sounds like I wouldn't be as bothered if it wasn't just such a massive part of the show.
Yeah, and I do
spend a lot of time with that.
Yes, I somewhat appreciate them saying like, "Oh yeah, these are just shards of the meteorite that he came down in, and that's why." Yeah, like that's fine, but it again felt like, oh, we need to triangulate where each shard is, and I'm just like, I don't need that. Like, that's busy work for the show. Like, that's it doesn't work for me.
I think they could I really think moving forward, and I know they won't do this because like the show just got like wackier and wackier and wackier as it went on. Like, but like, I knew you had a question for me. You wanted to ask about like what I kind of thought about the future, but like for me, it's like what I would want to see is like make this simpler, like streamline this a little bit, like work on having some really effective, creepy horror sequences.
Yep.
I don't need all this backstory about Pennywise. I don't need a military plot. I don't need this massive, like literally the world is at stake scale. Like let's just make this like simpler, because like when it's simpler and more intimate, it is scarier, and also you get better character work.
Yeah.
Like that general, the James Remars, like the guy playing the general, like he's kind of like a pretty lame character because like he starts out as like he seems to only be there to move the plot forward, you know, in terms of like he's like, oh, I'm nice, but also I'm testing you. Like, remember he's like testing the guy with like that was weird. I'm like, that's a really reckless thing to do.
Yeah.
But we do learn he's a pretty reckless guy. So maybe that's like with a character.
Sure.
Yeah. And then it's just like he just turns on a dime into like this crazy person. Yeah. Out to destroy the world just because like the story seems to kind of need him to.
And like I feel like there is some effort of like the more exposure to Pennywise, like the more the adults become a little more crazed. So maybe that's a factor in that. But I forgot one of the things I also really didn't like about the finale was the whole dagger being like the Lord of the Rings thing where it's like, oh, they're influenced. Like we need, like, I didn't need that. Like that can be cut out entirely. Just like, I don't need some other obstacle for them to get to where they're going. Like it just felt really weird and dumb for me, but
yeah, there's enough good here that like that I just find this like more of like a frustrating watch than like a like, oh yeah, this is horrible. It's just like I just found it more frustrating because it was like there is enough stuff here that is good and that I like that it's frustrating to me that there's so much I really don't like. Kind of mixed amongst it.
Yeah, and to reiterate, I still loved this show. So but it isn't without its problems. There's no perfect show, except The Wire, maybe. But anyway,
yeah. I sorry I came on here just to be such a downer about the show.
No, this is great.
I really went in like wanting to love it. Obviously, I mean, I go into stuff always wanting to enjoy my experience with something, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do have some. I wasn't as personally invested in this just because I thought the movies were so like middle of the road. For me, that I was like, well, those like were the ones I really had personal stakes in. And I felt like those movies were like 3 out of 5 star, like good enough time, but like they really emphasized like, oh, this is a very difficult novel to adapt.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I walked away from the kind of thinking like, oh, yeah, that's hard to adapt, and they had a hard time adapting it. Yeah. But they got enough stuff right that I had a good time.
Yeah. It's funny. It chapter 1, I rated 4.5 stars.
Okay.
And in chapter 2, I rated it 3 stars. So
I gave that 3 out of 5 stars as well. People were like, and actually, I felt like at the time I was in the minority because people were shitting all over.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I think I was helped walking into. I went and saw it by myself on like a random day. And I walked in being like, I'm going to hate this. Like, because I was like, everybody liked the first one more than I did.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, great. Liked the first one way more. And everyone's saying this one sucks. This is going to break my heart. And then I walked out being like, no, I actually kind of had fun with that movie.
Yeah. Funny, because that also seems to be the trajectory that you went with Joker and Joker Folie à Deux.
That's you know what? That's right. The real clown movie.
Yes. Oh Jesus.
That I love is Joker Folie à Deux.
Oh God.
Sitting on here to defend. Yeah, like anyone who really follows your podcast is like, this is the guy who liked Joker too. You can't fucking take anything this guy is saying seriously.
Right. I hope no one thinks that. And I hope no one reads the show notes, because I'll say it there. Just kidding, of course.
Mitch, Joker 2 fan, Ringenberg.
Yes.
Joins us once again.
Yep. But I do have a couple of questions for you as we're kind of winding down, I think, because I don't know if we can really talk much more about it. Welcome to Derry. I'm sure we could, but actually 3 questions. One, how did you feel about the tie-ins at the end of the season? Like Dick Halloran saying like, oh, like, again, fan service, loved it. The whole like, how much trouble can a hotel be? Wink. Thought that was nice. And then the cameo from Sophia Lillis, who played Bev in the It movies, at the end of the season.
Is that actually the line he uses? Like, how much trouble can a hotel be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I didn't like that at all because I'm like, like, yes, I'm aware this character was in The Shining. That reminds me very much of like the line in Titanic that I always hated, where he's like, Pablo Picasso. No one's ever gonna buy a painting.
Yeah.
They remind me of it's like you're only saying that like you're not saying an actual line of dialogue that a person would say.
Right.
You're talking directly to the audience when you say that, and I just find that like I don't like that. Like, I mean, you've already made the connection to The Shining because you're Dick Halloran. I don't need to know you're going to a hotel, but again, it was one line, made my eyes roll, but I wasn't like, fuck this show.
It reminds me a little bit of the early, like one of the first episodes of Boardwalk Empire when I think actually Chalky White, played by Michael Kenneth Williams, he like says something to Nucky, and he says like he refers to someone as a motherfucker, and then Steve Buscemi is walking past and he talks to like his partner or whatever, and he's like, "What's a motherfucker?" It's like, really? Could you like okay, Prohibition era America, like was that really not like in the vernacular? And also, can you really not tell from context clues what that is? Like,
it's like that's, if somebody said that in like 1830,
right?
Maybe I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe that's not commonly as like, okay, the 30s for sure. No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a little too, I mean, not a little too, it's, in my opinion, it was way too on the nose, but again, it's one line. They couldn't help themselves. They were like, someone might have just gone this whole season and not realize. I mean, that's definitely like another, they're like, so I think there's people who went this whole season and didn't realize that this guy's from The Shining, which is like, that's fine. You don't need, they did a good enough job developing his character that like you can just enjoy his character. Yeah. It's only a fun thing to learn later, maybe, that he's in The Shining. Seeing Bev, I had like no reaction to it. It's fine. Yeah. Like, that's cool. I mean, you're tying it into, the thing that this is the prequel for. People were online, like people were like freaking out, like ecstatic by that cameo. I'm like,
I saw that too.
I didn't think that was that crazy. I didn't think it was bad. I just was like, oh, like that didn't like, I didn't jump out of my seat. I was like, yes, I do. I remember her. From
it was to the point, the fan reaction that I was seeing, because I knew I knew that she was in it because of the internet. And like the fact that the episode's titled Winter Fire, I went into that episode thinking like, somehow Bev is going to play a role in this. And I'm like thinking like, how? Because she doesn't exist in 1962, like, or whatever year it is. Like, I think it's 62. Yeah. Anyway, she doesn't exist then. Like, how are they going to factor that in? So much so to the point where when I think at the end or like early on in the finale, when they're all like, oh yeah, he's gone back to sleep and everything's all good. I was thinking, or I think that was the end of the penultimate episode. But anyway, I thought like, oh shit, are they going to do a time jump to 27 years later? And we're going to have like somehow the Losers Club. And I'm like, how is that going to be a thing? And it's not. But I don't know. I didn't mind. I thought, okay, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was fine. I felt like the show thought that was like crazier than it like really was, But yeah, no, it was fine. I appreciated like that you know, the old lady is, you know, Bob Gray's daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's cool. Like I actually didn't put that together, and that was fun fun to see. So that's like what I got more out of the scene, just being like, yes, this girl exists during this time.
Right.
You know?
I had more fun in terms of fan service, nothing against Sophia Lillis or anything, but I got more enjoyment out of the fan service from the fact that, like, when it goes to like before it goes to that, we see the kind of before the credits or whatever, it has the title card, like Welcome to Derry, and then it adds Chapter 1. I love that because it's the same thing they did with Chapter 1. The end of the movie has Chapter 1 added to it, and like I thought, like, oh, that's a nice piece of symmetry and everything. So I don't know, something like that was more enjoyable to me than jumping ahead to 1988. So yeah. The other question I was going to ask, this is a two-sided question. One, I believe that the next season is supposed to be about the 1935 cycle and the Bradley gang from the book, just gangsters that Pennywise influences to just wreak destruction and havoc, and a big shootout, I believe, is the kind of final confrontation. How do you feel about that, if the show is going to explore that, and what would you like to see in that? For one, for me, and I think you'll agree, I also want to see it just downplayed. Like, I don't want it to be end of the world thing. I want it to be like, oh, it would be cool to see Pennywise influencing these 30s era gangsters to wreak maximum destruction that they can, so that he can feed upon the fear and the children and everything. Because that's what Pennywise is. That's what he's all about. And seeing that aesthetic, like, that's the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit about this iteration, this season, is because it's so large scale that there's not like a reasonable excuse or cover up that could be done. Like with the Bradley gang in the book in the 30s, like, oh, those were gangsters that had a big brawl and gunfight in the middle of Derry and caused a lot of death. Like that's the explanation and everything. Like here it's like, oh, a bunch of kids were hypnotized and their principal was murdered. Like, it's too high scale. It's too big scale.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder. It's like you know, it just brings up all these questions that like you don't want the show to make you wonder about.
Yeah,
right? So they're getting a new principal. Like, what do they think of
right.
that? How do they explain that? You know, actually, an evil clown demon murdered the principal and used him like a hand puppet. Are
they still gonna have to take finals when they wake up? Like,
don't you think all these questions that you're like, I don't want to think about that. Like, as far as like your question about that, I don't remember that gang too much in the book. Like, honestly, if this show did anything, it's like it did make me like go like, I need to reread that book.
Same here.
Because I was like, I kind of want to see like a more satisfying. It's like I want to read like the satisfying version of this story.
Sure.
And it would also be fun to reread the book and be like, I'm sure I'll be like, oh, this show had a lot more references to the novel than I remembered because it's been so long since I've read it. So I think I would appreciate a little bit more stuff out of the show. But yeah, I think like that sounds like a really cool thing. I like that they're going backwards instead of forwards. I would say if they do something where it's like, now it's the grandparents, like that would be stupid. I mean, pretty much what I kind of said earlier. It's like, I'd like to see this like a little more stripped down, less goofy subplots, less. I mean, I don't even know how you can do more explanation for Pennywise.
Yeah.
Like we now know everything about him.
Right.
So I you know, but just less explaining stuff that I don't want to know the answers to. And just like focus on telling a good story with good characters and crafting some cool horror sequences. And like, to me, I think like that, I just think this type of story works best when it's more intimate and a smaller group of people having to kind of like face this insurmountable evil. As soon as like the military is involved, it's like, all right, well, it's like one superpower versus another.
Right.
It's like it immediately, it's goofy. I'm sure I'm curious like what Stephen King thought of this, but then again, Stephen King seems to like have wild taste. I'm sure it was amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I will say this is a stupid joke. But I will say that one of the best moments in this whole season was that very Andy Muschietti moment where we got to see Nicolas Cage digitally represented to look like Randall Flagg. That was a nice surprise.
That was cool. I did appreciate that. Honestly, dude, Nicolas Cage as Randall Flagg, that would have been pretty. That would be sick.
Oh, 100%.
He's probably a little too old for it now.
Yeah.
But like 2010 Nicolas Cage.
I mean, my God. I mean, he's ageless. He's timeless. Randall Flagg is
true.
Yeah, he could be any iteration of Randall Flagg.
Mads Mikkelsen, I think, would be a sick Randall Flagg.
Yes. I also like Walton Goggins, I think would be fun. I think.
Oh yeah. He's getting a little overexposed right now, but he would be fun.
But
Michael Chiklis as that was everything my John Ben Stiller as Randall Flagg would be pretty interesting. I think.
You know, it's really funny. I don't remember. Like, you've read The Dark Tower?
I've read The Gunslinger.
The Gunslinger.
I have not. I need to read more, and I have the first 2 books on my bookshelf right there. I read The Gunslinger when I was like 14, and it was not one of my favorite Stephen Kings when I read it. That's probably why I didn't continue to read the series. I know now I would stick with it. It's just like, you know, there's a million things to read. I will read it in my lifetime, though.
I will go into my whole like spiel. That's probably not as persuasive as I think it is, but this is not a knock against the series at all, because Dark Tower is my favorite thing. If I could pick one piece of IP or one thing to have in terms of art to consume, it would be the Dark Tower for like ever. If I was in like limbo where I could only have one thing, it would be the Dark Tower. But having said that, The Gunslinger is a tough introductory book to it because it is much more much more concentrated on prose and the poetry of the writing and the Russian nesting doll of the storytelling. Like, you've got Roland meeting one person and then telling a story about where he went before, and then in that story he tells another story about something that happened in that town before, and then he talks about what happened after. Like, it's this really interesting, again, Russian nesting doll. But the thing that I keep saying to people who will listen is that The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger, was written by Stephen King, started when he was 19. It was published in a serialized format, chapter by chapter. View that as the prologue to the series, and then The Drawing of the Three, book 2, is like, that's where things click together in terms of
I've heard that book is amazing.
Oh my God, it's incredible. It is incredible. And that, like, so The Gunslinger takes place entirely in Midworld, in Roland's universe. And again, it is so much character driven. And then once you get to The Drawing of the Three, you get all of the like parallel like universe stuff, and you get all of these like crazy things that happen, and you get introduced to iconic characters like some of my favorite characters in all of fiction. And like, you come away from The Drawing of the Three with a better understanding of what the rest of the series is, like what you can expect going into the rest of the series. So it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I have like, hold on. I have yeah, I have like the drawing of 3 like right here
Nice.
on my bookshelf. So it's like I'm going, and it also like has all these like
the illustrations. Oh my god, those are so
it has all the
beautiful
cool illustrations and stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I had this version for they actually had all of these versions at half price books when I went last time.
That's
and
awesome.
I almost just picked up the whole series, but I was like, you know what? I'm like, these are probably going to be here for a while. They had like multiple copies of each book. I'm like, let me read the first couple, and then like I'll start picking them up. Anyways, yeah, long digression, and I know the listeners can't see the book I'm holding up. It's just a cool old paperback of the drawing of 3.
Yeah,
I will read them just because like that was just like, that's like I've read like most classic Stephen King, and that's like a huge blind spot. Obviously, like the Dark Tower series is like a pivotal text, and I just remember when I was a kid, you know, and I read The Gunslinger, I was like, oh, I like that, but then I just like moved on to like, you know, Pet Sematary or whatever.
Sure, but the whole point I was going at with The Gunslinger as well is that one of the stories, like one of the pieces of backstory for Roland is his training to become a gunslinger, and there's a character named Court who is a very like abusive like teacher who is very like, he calls all the students maggots, and he's like very abrasive toward them. I remember when Tiny and I were working nights and we were reading it for the first time, like in tandem, like he spent like 11 months reading the whole series, and then I had in that same time, it took me like 13 months. But we would get into conversations about casting, obviously. And we were all like, oh, we could see Michael Chiklis playing Court. That would be interesting.
Oh, nice.
So that's to tie back to what we talked about like an hour ago.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to read them. Like, I'll probably honestly, as much as I want to reread it, like that's probably got to be my next Stephen King thing. Is starting back over with the Gunslinger and just going through, because I know I'll enjoy it. Like, I know I will.
Oh yeah. One of my goals for 2026 is to pay more attention to Tower Junkies and Anthology. So anytime you read anything, watch anything Stephen King related, and you want to talk about it, let me know. We will do a Tower Junkies episode.
I would love that.
Nice.
I would love that. And honestly, I had a blast today talking about
Same here.
with you. It was a ton of fun.
Oh yeah. And we'll wrap up here in a second. I did want to ask one final question that I already know the answer to, but given how this season positions Dick Hallorann as a character in my opinion, great casting of Chris Chalk, would you want to see a spin-off show that is Dick Hallorann at the Overlook over the years, like experiences?
You know, I'm not gonna, you know, be a total Debbie Downer with this answer, because I will say, like, I'm completely on board with you. Like, I thought Chris Chalk was awesome. Like, I don't have much of a I have seen the 90s miniseries of The Shining. I barely remember it. I was so young when I watched it. But I think he's like right up there in terms of like just like a strong acting performance with Scatman Crothers. My thing is just like I would love to just see more of this character. And you know what? Like, I'm honestly, if it's not Andy Muschietti doing it, like I would like somebody else do that. You know, I would kind of be down to watch the show. To me, it's like doing this stuff. It's like we're like fully in fan fiction territory. Yeah, you know, like full fan fiction territory. And it's like there is something to me where it's like you are kind of just breaking the text in a little bit, like when you do this, and that is hard for me to get over. Now, if the show is just, I'm not saying it can't be done. Like, if the show is awesome, I'd be happy about it. So, like, I'm not totally opposed to it, but like, I do have just the gut reaction of like, all right, like you're kind of breaking the text if you're like, crazy shit happened all the time, at the Overlook Hotel, and he had all these insane adventures before, Jack Torrance and Danny got there.
Right.
Because you just don't, because like just the way he acts in both the book and the movie when they first arrive, he does not, I mean, definitely acts a little bit like, ooh, this place is a little spooky,
Right.
but like he's, he's not acting like I feel like if again, it's just one of those things like we just talked about in this TV show. It's like,
yeah,
all right, well, all that just happened. Like, it doesn't really make sense that the town would never mention that ever
right.
again. Or like that wouldn't be the craziest thing that was talked about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels a little bit like that. But that said, great performance. We've already seen Dick Halloran go on some crazy adventures. So like, yeah. I would be mostly game with some, just kind of a couple big reservations, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say that I know Glenn Mazzara had written a script for a movie called The Overlook that would have been just like exploring the Overlook and over the years, which I remember when like that news broke. It never got made, obviously, but when that news broke, I kept thinking like I would love to see like an anthology series where, like Castle Rock, where each season takes place in a different year of the Overlook, and you see all the crazy shit that happens, and like you get to know like basically like an anthology show, like anything else. I
actually think that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah,
and honestly, it's it's kind of not that different from like comic book properties and stuff, like where it's just like, I don't know if I'm way more, it's way easier for me to accept that with like, for some reason with like, maybe just because it's based on a single novel, right? It's like one single original work, and that's why it feels weird. Mm-hmm. But, it's very easy for me to accept that like, oh, wow, James Bond's gone on like 75 adventures.
Right.
Like that would be a lot, like for one dude. Or like, wow, Batman, like Batman's done a lot of shit, like a ton of different crazy stories. It's like, but you're like, it's fine. He's just like a character, and he's just like a device that storytellers are using to tell whatever story they want to, right?
Yes.
Or make whatever movie they want to. We're just using Batman for to tell this story.
Exactly.
Whereas like, it doesn't quite feel the same with doing that with a character from a novel,
right?
But that said, like I think if it's a good show, I can sort of just accept in my head like this is just like fun fan fiction. It's like it doesn't, if I don't like where this goes, it doesn't have to be canonical. Like like just because this show disappointed me, it's not like, oh, it makes me enjoy the novel less.
You are preaching to the choir of someone who watched the Dark Tower movie on opening night with Tiny, and us both wearing Dark Tower t-shirts.
Yeah, before you finish that sentence, instead of reading the series, should I just watch that movie?
Oh yeah, watch it on a loop over and over again. You'll understand everything.
Okay, cool.
No, it needs to be gone. I love the quote that Mike Flanagan had, where he recently at some point said about his Dark Tower adaptation that he's working on. He said that we can't let the 2017 movie be the final word on the Dark Tower. Like we just can't. And I'm like, okay.
That seems like that movie. I never saw that movie, but it seemed just from an outside, like it seemed like very much the victim of studio meddling.
Oh,
as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. But speaking of meddling, I'm not going to meddle with any more of your night. That's a whatever.
Shucks, I had a great time.
I did too. So as we wind down, why don't you tell people where they can find you online and what you've got coming up, if anything, or what movies you're looking forward to?
Yeah. Let's see. You can find me at Midwest Film Journal, Letterboxd, Wounded_Kite. I'm very active on Letterboxd because I watch too many movies.
No such thing.
I don't have anything in the pipe right now for Midwest Film Journal, but I'm sure here in the next month or so, I'll have something posted up on there. Yeah, it's January. Looking forward to some good January trash.
Same here.
Sometimes you find some good low IQ diamonds in the rough. There's a movie about a killer monkey coming out that could
can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait for that, honestly.
There's this real meathead bro action movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon coming out that I'm like,
The Rip.
I'm like, I'll be watching that.
Sure.
It could be terrible, but I will absolutely be watching it. That looks like this month's Den of Thieves. You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
That's what I want in January.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
But okay, well, that will do it. I'm going to go ahead and read my whole spiel. That's it for this week's episode of The Obsessive Viewer. As always, thank you so much for listening, and make sure to follow the show on social media and subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast app. Also, check out Obsessive Viewer Podcast's other shows. Tower Junkies, a Stephen King podcast hosted by Tiny and myself, and Anthology, the Twilight Zone and classic sci-fi podcast hosted by me. Next week on the show, it is episode 500 of the Obsessive Viewer podcast, and it is going to be our year in review episode. Can't wait. Until then, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. And now, enjoy this short clip from a recent Patreon exclusive episode. For the full episode and more Patreon exclusive content, sign up at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And from there, it just jumps off with this whole thing with Jim Gordon being this, he's a good cop and he's a morally adjusted cop. He's not someone who is going to take bribes or engage in corrupt activities or anything. But he's also, again, he's not squeaky clean and innocent. He has things in his past. He has an affair that is going to happen during the story. And he also stands up for himself in some unique ways. So he gets the shit kicked out of him by his cohorts or his coworkers. Thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. This episode was produced and edited by me, Matt Hurt. If you have feedback, thoughts on our episodes, or just want to connect, you can email me at matt@obsessiveviewer.com. For more information on this show, including a full archive of our episodes and show notes, visit obsessiveviewer.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please give us a follow on social media and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice so you never miss an episode. Also, consider rating and reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Audible to help increase our visibility and grow our community. If you want to support the show and get early access to new episodes, as well as a steady stream of exclusive episodes, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. For information on more podcasts presented by obsessiveviewer.com, visit obsessiveviewer.com/podcasts. Our theme song is A Little Mad Sometimes by As Good As It Gets. For more of their music, check them out on Spotify and at asgoodasitgetsmusic.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn. Check out the show notes for your promo code to get started podcasting today.